program. The crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
It's one of those things that is universally good, no matter where you are on planet Earth. This is a good thing, and I hope it brightens your day. Thank you.
Return American astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the retirement of the space shuttle, last flown nearly 9 years ago. But if all goes well today, we will mark a new first in NASA's storied history and usher in the commercial crew era of American spaceflight. And we are looking at a live picture now of Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley walking down that hallway in the astronaut crew quarters. We just saw Doug wave at the screen, and they're just turning the corner, getting inside that elevator. And this, you can't see it from here, but there is a banner hanging there. You can kind of see it in the back. There's a banner hanging on the wall of the elevator with the signatures of all the people who worked on this mission. So it was really important for them to hang that up in there so Bob and Doug could see it. And there the doors are opening.
Here they come.
Great. And there they are, NASA astronauts.
Small crowd, but big cheers.
NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, Doug on the left, Bob on the right, waving to the crowd there to cheer them on. And there are their families right in front of them.
The virtual hugs, a very special moment. Fist bumps.
Are you going to be on good behavior? Are you going to listen to mommy and make her life easy?
You can hear them.
Ready? Let's light this candle, I agree. All up to America! Bye, guys.
And there it is. That shot really gives you a sense of the scale of the Falcon 9 rocket. Those Teslas look teeny, teeny, tiny, making their way up there.
Yeah, really cool watching the Teslas pull up, driving on the launch pad just a few feet away from the vehicle. This is awesome and getting really excited over here.
Core on countdown 1 at 2 hours, 57 minutes. The crew has arrived at the pad on schedule.
There they are, taken in the sight, craning to see the top of the Falcon 9 rocket.
Core on countdown 1 at T-minus 2 hours and 46 minutes. The crew has arrived at the White Room and its ingress is in progress on schedule.
And as they climb into Dragon, they will buckle themselves in and attach their umbilicals to their suits. And as you can see, the suit techs are there to help them get buckled and settled into those seats.
We can see the seats slowly start to rotate. Again, they're in this down position just to make it easier to climb in and out of Dragon. They'll rotate to this launch position to put their backs a little bit more parallel to the ground. It makes taking the G-force a little bit easier for the crew on the way uphill, but most importantly, positions those touchscreens directly in front of them, which is just their gateway into Dragon.
Dragon SpaceX seats are in the launch position.
We copy.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. So rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will be coming down.
Falcon 9 first stage successfully landed.
And there you can see on your screen, Falcon 9 has landed. This is the first Falcon 9 to carry humans to orbit, so very exciting for us. And as you can see on your right screen, Bob and Doug are still making their way to their targeted orbit.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Countdown 1 is unmerged.
Separation confirmed.
And there's that call out. Dragon is now officially making its way to the International Space Station today.
Dragon SpaceX with that separation call. We have a few words for you from our Falcon 9 team.
Standing by.
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to Ground. Bob, Doug, on behalf of the entire launch team, thanks for flying with Falcon 9 today. We hope you enjoyed the ride and wish you a great mission.
Thanks, Bala. Congratulations to you and the F9 team for the first human ride for Falcon 9, and it was incredible. Appreciate all the hard work, and thanks for the great ride to space.
Proud of you guys and the rest of the team. Thank you so much for what you've done for us today, putting America back into low Earth orbit from the Florida coast.
Copy all. Good luck. Godspeed.
Without further ado, we would like to welcome you aboard Capsule Endeavour. We chose Endeavour for a few reasons. One, because of this incredible endeavor NASA, SpaceX, and the United States has been on since the end of the shuttle program back in 2011. The other reason we named it Endeavour is a little more personal to Bob and I. We both had our first flights on Shuttle Endeavour, and it just meant so much to us to carry on that name. That's what we decided to go with. So we hope you enjoy that name, and once again, welcome on board.
Today we accomplished the first flight off the Florida coast in quite some time, and Doug and I were really proud to have an opportunity to be a part of that. We're doing it in a brand new spaceship that's a lot different than its namesake Endeavour, the space shuttle, in that it has touch display screens that allow us to accomplish most of the interfacing requirements that we have. But we've got the capability to interface with the vehicle, and it's kind of interesting. There's a command. This little button over here is actually what the commands are for for our displays. One thing that does get lost is there is a extensive button panel down below as well. So over on this side, we can turn the displays on and off, as well as send some commands for some contingency situations. On the other side, we have the ability to deploy chutes and things like that on entry. So we do have some buttons, but the primary interface is these displays. So nice, new, modern cockpit that we've got for our compared to our namesake, the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
And I'm guessing it was the first time a space vehicle was flown with a touchscreen before. So we got that going for us.
We did, it turns out, end up with one stowaway on board our vehicle when we launched today. It was not just Doug and I who accomplished the launch here. We do have an Apatosaurus aboard. We both have two boys who are super interested in dinosaurs. And we collected up all the dinosaurs between the two houses, and Trimmer, the Apatosaurus, got the vote from the boys to make the trip into space today with us. And so that was a super cool thing for us to get a chance to do for both of our sons, who I hope are super excited to see their toys floating around with us on board. I'm sure they would rather be here given the opportunity, but hopefully they're proud of this as well.
This moment, we're less than a mile away from station. Dragon just under 1,200 meters away, continuing to close the gap. Pretty slow rate right now, moving in at only about 1.7 meters per second.
And here's a view from Dragon. Dragon's got a number of relative navigation sensors, as well as a couple of cameras that can look forward. That will hopefully get some additional views far as we get closer to docking. Here's a great view from a camera behind Bob and Doug. Bob in the right-hand seat in the pilot seat. Doug in the commander seat, or the CDR seat.
There they are. And that's 200 meters from the center line of the space station.
We're inside 100 meters, continuing to close.
I think you can see a meatball and American flag on that on the spacecraft. That structure on the fairing structure is actually what the Super Dracos are housed in. Of course, all of those are deactivated now, only used for launch escape during the ascent portion. Nose cone right at the top of the vehicle, and you can see sort of the sealing surface. Those four circular slots right underneath the nose cone within that red ring are the Ford bulkhead Dracos. That's what we were using while we were conducting all those burns, the 5 burns to get to this point.
That's Dragon on the big loop. Our visors are down.
Visors down. They are.
Copy, visors down.
They're sitting right there, 20 meters from the docking port. One more view.
SpaceX and station Dragon on the big loop. We are inbound from approach 2.
Copy, inbound.
Mission copy.
Dragon closing in. We're inside 20 meters. And yeah, that crew hands-off point should come up in about 3 minutes or so. Right before we get that final docking, it comes about 20 seconds prior. We're just about 2 meters away from the station still. And that's just the crew not issuing any abort commands. At that point, it would be too late. And so any aborts would be executed automatically by Dragon itself. Two meters. We are inside the hands-off point, the chop, the crew hands-off point. 1 meter to go. Soft capture complete.
Dragon is soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
Bye.
Dragon SpaceX docking sequence is complete.
Next Dragon We copy docking complete. To say that it's been a real honor to be just a small part of this 9-year endeavor since the last time the United States spaceship had docked with the International Space Station. We have to congratulate the men and women of SpaceX at Hawthorne, McGregor, and at Kennedy Space Center. Their incredible efforts over the last several years to make this possible cannot go overstated. I'd also like to thank Kathy Leaders and her team of the Commercial Crew Program of NASA. An outstanding job by everyone. Last, I'd like to thank the men and women of the National Aeronautics and Space Agency. This is an incredible time to be at NASA. 3 new vehicles to be flown, continuing mission in low Earth orbit, and then to the moon and Mars. We thank you again and congratulate you.
Dragon arriving. The crew of Expedition 63 is honored to welcome Dragon and the Commercial Crew Program to welcome aboard the International Space Station. Bob and Doug, glad to have you as part of the crew. Well done. Bravo Zulu.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley. Demo 2 crew now aboard the International Space Station. They entered at 12:22 p.m. Central Time. The station at the time was 262 statute miles over Turkmenistan. Crew all gathered in front of the cameras at the Node 2 forward end of the International Space Station. Just behind them is the hatchway to the Crew Dragon on its Demo 2 mission.
Station, this is the NASA administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so, so proud of everything you have done for our country and, in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and, of course, NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
First, I just want to say thank you again to Bob and Doug and your families from all of us here at SpaceX, all of our locations, all of our partners, all of our vendors, everyone for trusting us to bring you up under the crew.
Hey, thanks, Benji. It's same back at you. You know, congratulations to the folks out at Hawthorne, McGregor, and at Kennedy. Just an incredible journey we've had the last couple days. A great day in space today, our first day of work on Space Station, but what a great ride on Dragon and Falcon 9 to get us here. Everything worked exactly the way we planned it to work, and that's a credit to the teams there in Hawthorne and McGregor and Kennedy. Just it's a pretty awe-inspiring trip so far, and very humbling, and just we're just so proud to represent SpaceX and NASA in this new next launch capability.
You guys have a picture of the Earth, and you have a flag which also represents the friendly competition, maybe, that brings us unity. Why don't you tell us about that there?
Yeah, so this is the flag that we left here almost 9 years ago on STS-135. It had actually flown on STS-1, and then it flew again with us on STS-135. And at some point after the end of the shuttle program, we decided we would have a little friendly competition to see who came up and got this flag. And congratulations, SpaceX, you got the flag. So Bob and I, Chris will not let us forget it. That's the biggest thing, is this will be on his to-do list when we get the nod to return Dragon back to Earth, and hopefully this will find a great place of honor somewhere in Hawthorne.
Everyone at NASDAQ is thrilled that you're able to join us here today virtually as we get set to ring today's opening bell.
All right, Bob Mini Workstation BRT has a red small.
Yes.
3 short wire ties, 1 long wire tie.
1 long, 1, 2, 3 shorts. Swing arm.
Red small.
PGT. Red small. It's PGT number 7.
PGT number 7. Cal knot motor 30.5. And 7/16 wobble.
Hey Bob, your helmet is locked. Just check out all your stuff, make sure you're good.
The thermal cover is open. I'm egressing. We copy.
The 2 spacewalkers will be making their way to the far starboard truss of the International Space Station to replace aging nickel-hydrogen batteries on the first of 2 power channels for the S6 truss with new lithium-ion batteries and their associated adapter plates.
Well, welcome aboard to the International Space Station and the crew of Expedition 63. It's an exciting day for us all as we bid farewell to our 2 friends and colleagues, Bob and Doug, as they complete the journey of this amazing test mission. It was roughly 2 months ago when we were right at this very hatch and greeted them aboard, and we changed from a crew of 3 to a crew of 5, and we executed 2 months of fantastic space station science and technical objectives with spacewalks and robotics that we're very proud of, and we're very happy to have Doug and Bob be part of that. We're a little sad to see them go, but very excited for what it means to our International Space Program to add this capability to bring people back and forth to the space station in low Earth orbit with another capability such as the Crew Dragon. Before I hand the mic over to Bob and Doug, I do want to make mention of this very special flag that has deep space history, getting deeper, as this flag will return to Earth with the Crew Dragon guys and spend a little bit of time on Earth and very soon make a trip to the moon in short order. So, Doug, the flag's all yours. It's been a pleasure, and here you go.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for this. Yeah, this flag has spent some time up here, on the order of 9 years since we dropped it off on STS-135 after it flew on STS-1. So very proud to return this flag home and see what's next for it on its journey to the moon. It's hard to put into words just what it was like to be a part of this expedition, Expedition 63. It'll be kind of a memory that will last a lifetime for me. Just all the incredible teamwork and accomplishments, with the highlights obviously being the 4 spacewalks that we worked together literally as a crew of 5 to have success and to complete that part of the upgrade for the International Space Station, which leaves it in a great posture for the future. The other thing to think about for us is our mission isn't over. The DM2 test flight is in some ways just 2/3 complete. We did the ascent, the rendezvous, and the docking. We completed our docked objectives, and now is the entry, descent, and splashdown phase after we undock, hopefully a little bit later today. So we're going to be really focused on completing those objectives. The teams are working really hard, especially with the dynamics of the weather over the next few days around Florida. And we appreciate those efforts because I know those decisions and that work isn't easy. And of course, for the men and women of the Commercial Crew Program and SpaceX, all the work they've done to get us to this point where we're on our way to completing this test flight. It's been a true honor.
As Doug mentioned, we're part of a test mission that began 2 months ago with the initial success of launching from American soil, bringing launches of astronauts back to the Florida coast. I'm extremely proud to have been a part of that. We've accomplished the next third of the mission, which was our time on orbit and checking out Dragon while it was docked to ensure that it would be ready for the next launch of the Crew 1 astronauts as they head to space station for an even longer stay. Now, as Doug mentioned, we're about to embark on the final portion of the journey. I've referred to some of our SpaceX friends as the hardest part was getting us launched, but the most important part is bringing us home. And so I look forward to the test objectives of not only separating from the International Space Station smoothly, but then coming down to a nice splashdown off the Florida coast to come full circle with bringing that capability to launch astronauts again to the United States. As I look back on the mission that we've had here on the International Space Station, I'm proud to have been a part of much of the science activities that happened over the last 2 months. As Doug and Chris mentioned, the spacewalks and robotics activity. Chris and I were able to join the 10 Spacewalk Club, which is a pretty neat thing that, you know, just a few short months ago, I didn't think I would do another spacewalk, and to now have the chance to have done 4 more with Commander Cassidy was just icing on the cake for a wonderful mission. And as I look forward to heading back home for the splashdown, I do think that from a family perspective, my son and Doug's son are really excited not only to get their fathers back, but to get our Apatosaurus, our zero-G indicator that they nominated to go with us on this historic mission to the International Space Station, and bringing that to launch and return capability back to the U.S.
Good afternoon. It's Saturday, August 1st here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. And on your screen is a live view of the interior of the Dragon spacecraft as we await its departure from the International Space Station. Now, we expect Dragon to push away from the space station with NASA astronauts Bob Behnken, who's actually in the frame right now, and Doug Hurley on board just after 4:35 p.m. Pacific time to make their way back home to planet Earth.
Really is great to be back here for this historic milestone moment in NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Once Dragon departs station, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley's flight home is expected to last roughly 19 hours, more than 2 months in space. Dragon is targeted to splash down off the coast of Pensacola, Florida in the Gulf of Mexico.
Months ago on May 30th from historic Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And after a successful separation from the Falcon 9, Bob and Doug enjoyed a 19-hour flight on board Dragon before they came to the International Space Station. Now, since arriving, Bob and Doug have been doing some real work aboard the station
as fully fledged members of Expedition 63. Over the last 2 months, they've helped execute more than 24 scientific investigations from every major category of research aboard the station, including studies in biology and biotechnology, earth and space sciences, human research, physical sciences, and technology demonstration. They've also had plenty of non-science related work on their timelines, performing maintenance on life support and vehicle hardware in multiple modules and transferring cargo in and out of the attached HTV-9 cargo spacecraft. Bob Behnken also executed 4 spacewalks with Station Commander Chris Cassidy, wrapping up one of the final phases of upgrading the station's large external batteries, with Doug assisting in all suit and robotic operations. Again, the majority of that is more than 200 pounds of science, largely made up of samples.
And that's when we're hoping to see Dragon do some small undocking burns that will separate it from the space station. On your screen is actually a view from inside the space station, looking down node 2 towards the pressurized mating adapter. And Chris Cassidy will actually have some tasks to attach a docking target onto that when we're ready to close the APES hatch.
So if you look just above the hatch, you see that ISS 20 flag. That is representing the 20th anniversary of the International Space Station, which we will actually be celebrating later this year. So for the past 20 years, I like to explain it to people as if you are under 20 years of age, you've never lived a day without humans in space. So for the past 20 years, we've had continuous human presence aboard the International Space Station. It's truly international. We have obviously our 2 upside down friends we see. They're getting a better look inside by turning in that direction. They are from Roscosmos, the Russian space agency. Looks like they are taking out the intermodule ventilation. That helps equalize the air in between Dragon's capsule and the rest of the International Space Station.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, while Dragon has been attached to the space station, most of its operations have been in what we call quiescent mode. So that's really just a low power state where we've only got monitoring on the thermal system, the propellant system, taking a look at some parameters in case we were to see anything that would trigger the Dragon's onboard automation to wake the vehicle up and let ground operators know something needs to be addressed. The onboard life support system is actually only used when we close the hatches and for brief periods when we are configuring the vehicle when we first arrive, and periods when we're leaving, like right now. So that duct that they pull out, the intermodule ventilation duct, that actually provides clean, breathable air and circulates the air in the capsules, and providing that air from the International Space Station.
And it looks like hatch closure is soon to be underway.
Houston and Hawthorne from Endeavour.
Still working to take out some equipment inside Dragon, move it back into the space station.
Here's an internal view of the Dragon spacecraft. We've got Bob in his looks like his comfort garment, which would be what he wears underneath his suit.
And then another view from the International Space Station side of things. Looks like Anatoly Ivanishin flying out of view, and Chris Cassidy down there in between the hatches in that vestibule area. He is working through procedures to soon be closing the APAS hatch on the space station side and prepare for depressurization.
Dragon SpaceX nodes are secured, both on the International Space Station side as well as on the Dragon side of the spacecraft.
So we just heard the call that Bob and Doug are go for suit donning. So the Dragon hatch is closed. They've said farewell to their orbiting friends for now until they're all reunited in the ground in the future. And they'll be going through that suit donning shortly. So one of the 2 astronauts returning to Earth in Crew Dragon is Doug Hurley, the spacecraft commander for the Demo 2 mission. He previously flew on 2 space shuttle missions as the pilot on STS-127 and again on STS-135, which was the final space shuttle flight. Here's a closer look at NASA astronaut Doug Hurley.
excited. Yeah, very excited.
You feel ready? Still pumped?
Oh yeah, I think we're ready. I think we're certainly ready.
Joining the SpaceX Demo 2 test. He is a Marine Corps colonel and test pilot. He was selected as an astronaut in 2000. He piloted Space Shuttle Endeavour and Atlantis for STS-135, the final Space Shuttle mission. Introducing NASA astronaut Doug Hurley.
It's a life-changing process in so many ways to fly into space. It's just overwhelming in some respects. Just the sensations, the rumbling, the shaking, the acceleration. When the engines shut off and you go from, in the case of the shuttle, you go from 3 Gs to 0 Gs instantaneously and things start floating. And I remember distinctly just thinking, what just happened? To see a rocket launch in person is, it's a pretty emotional event. I remember the first time I saw a shuttle launch and it was amazing. And then when I saw a shuttle launch with my wife on it, that is quite the emotional experience. My name is Doug Hurley, and I'm the spacecraft commander for the Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station. We are doing the first crewed flight for NASA and for SpaceX. So this is the test flight to prove end-to-end from launch to docking to ISS operations and then entry, descent, and landing. We'll wake up about 6 hours prior to launch. You'll eat breakfast, you'll do a medical check, you'll start to get your comfort garments on, you'll get a weather brief, and then you'll go get suited up. And it's the same suit up room that astronauts have been using since Apollo.
And there they are, NASA astronauts.
And then we'll walk out, jump in our Teslas, and we'll ride to the pad. We will board the vehicle roughly 3 hours before launch, go through all those pre-flight checks, and then ideally we're off to the races from there at launch.
Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
It's about a 9 to 10 minute ride to orbit. We'll go through the on-orbit activities. We'll do some manual flying of the vehicle. We'll obviously sleep on the vehicle. And then we will continue through the rendezvous phase to where we end up in front of the space station the next morning, ready to dock.
Endeavour, this is Houston. Bob and Doug, welcome to the International Space Station.
We'll spend likely a few months on space station. We'll be able to do some on-board training with regard to undocking, entry, descent, and landing. Actually getting to fly the mission with Bob, we've been close friends for almost 20 years, so, the whole experience for me is what we're looking for.
For Doug personally, he's worked so hard, through his entire life to get to where we are right now. It makes me so happy to see that he gets to be part of this mission, the spacecraft commander. I'm just glad to see his hard work and his dreams come true for that. We're so proud of him.
It's been a huge amount of sacrifice and time away from home, but the fruits of our labor are coming to fruition.
Now, with Doug is NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. He's the Joint Operations Commander for Demo 2. He previously flew on 2 shuttle missions, STS-123 and 130, and he also served a tour as the Chief of the Astronaut Office. Why don't we learn a little bit more about him?
When you go through the launch day preparations, there's a lot of moments that kind of stand out to you. One is the kind of the celebratory piece of it, which is that you're walking out of the suit up room and getting in the vehicle that's going to take you to the launch pad. When you close the hatch, that's really when Doug and I are in the vehicle, and it's our vehicle, and we're really in control of the mission at that point.
Test pilots
Their task proved that man could fly into orbit around the Earth and return live and well to talk about it.
There's always a balance of managing risk as you go forward to execute a test point and figuring out a way to collect the data. We hear a sound. Okay, is that sound an expected sound? Or we see a light, is that light an expected light? What's the source of it? Does it sync up with something else that's going on or not? So trying to dissect all of that in real time in your head is, a lot of things happen like that on launching of a vehicle.
From St. Anne, Missouri, he is an Air Force colonel and flight test engineer. He flew aboard Space Shuttle Endeavour twice. Introducing NASA astronaut Bob Behnken.
My career at NASA has kind of spanned a couple of decades at this point. I arrived with the class of 2000, went through the training program, primarily focused on the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station, learning those systems. Having launched a couple times on vehicles, the second time was definitely different than the first time. You can feel a little bit guilty of, hey, should I study one more thing, or is there one more piece of information? Am I really prepared or not? So that's definitely different between where I was on my first flight and where I'm at right now.
I think for me personally, as a spouse, watching everything that Bob has put into this over the last 5 years, the dedication that he's shown, the perseverance is pretty special. For both of us, though, the way our minds work, it won't be until sort of the mission is complete that you have really a chance to savor it and celebrate it.
On a deeply personal level, I'm really excited that my son is get a chance to see me launch into space. Being an astronaut has been a little bit of an abstraction thing for him because he's seen me do it in old videos, but he hasn't seen me do it for real. And so I'm excited for him to see me launch into space. Really, my role on the Demo 2 mission is to make sure that we get this vehicle tested and evaluated so that we can move on to more operational missions at the International Space Station.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA. Go SpaceX. Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
We've got a lot of objectives on board the vehicle that we need to accomplish to really make sure that it's good to go. We'll do everything from actually talk from the Dragon vehicle to a Russian Soyuz. We'll dig out all kinds of hardware that's stowed in the nooks and crannies of the vehicle so that we have a good feel for how things are in place and getting them back in place. We plan to do all those things as just a part of our test mission.
Welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so proud.
I'm looking forward to that moment when he enjoys the accomplishment, when he realizes we did this, we did a great job, we accomplished what we set out to do. Whenever he lets himself feel that and experience that success, that's what I'm really looking forward to for him. For me, I'm looking forward to when he touches down at Ellington and the NASA plane that brings him home again at the end of it.
I think that the thing I'm most looking forward to is actually ending up in the water safely at the end of the mission. I'm expecting a little bit of vomiting maybe to happen in the end game. So when we get to that opportunity to do that, I'm looking for that kind of celebratory event for both of us in the water at the end of the mission.
You will help us line up with our targeted landing site. Right now, looking at Pensacola and a scheduled splashdown tomorrow.
There's a view on your screen. Left-hand side is the International Space Station. So that's coming from Node 2, or the Ford node. Looks like Commander Chris Cassidy taking a look down the PMA and sealing up the hatch. Probably checking the seal, it looks like.
Yeah, probably checking it for FOD, or foreign object debris.
There's a view from the International Space Station looking at the Dragon spacecraft. And once we get away from space station outside of the keep-out sphere and the approach ellipsoid, we'll actually transition to what's referred to as Dragon to ground. So we'll be issuing a lot of that communication via Dragon's transmitters through those TDRS satellites back to ground.
So you've got this really good close-up view of Crew Dragon attached to the International Space Station. And many of you have seen some of the incredible pictures that they took of our home planet. This is one beautiful view of a sun glint off the ocean. And then there's also one that we have from Comet Neowise in July. If you had the opportunity to see that from the ground, we saw our astronauts. How beautiful that is, the comet streaking across the sky just above the Earth below. I can't imagine.
Yeah, especially to see the glow of the Earth's atmosphere kind of creating that blue sheen as the light refracts off of it.
Docking.
SpaceX on the big loop. The final reconfigurations for undock are complete and nominal. The ground is go for undocking at the undocking sequence start time of 23:30 GMT. Please confirm your visors are down and that you are ready for undock and departure.
Dragon copies, go for undock on time. Our visors are down and we're ready for departure.
We copy all. Dragon SpaceX, undock sequence commanded.
Pepper copies.
Dragon SpaceX, all hooks open and nominal.
All hooks open.
Dragon departing.
Dragon SpaceX, separation confirmed.
Station Endeavour on the big loop.
Go ahead, Endeavour.
Chris, we just can't thank you enough. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of Expedition 63 with you, Anatoly, and Ivan. It's been a great 2 months, and we appreciate all you've done as a crew to help us prove out Dragon on its maiden flight. I'd also like to thank Zeb and his team in Mission Control in Houston for the incredible amount of work they did to make the dock the ops successful for Dragon, and also the teams at SpaceX that keep us going towards the end of our mission that we look forward to Splashdown tomorrow. I'd also like to wish you a great success on the rest of your expedition and a safe flight home in the fall. Take care, friend.
Endeavour,
Thank
stay
you, Chris.
Thank you, Anatoly. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Houston, and thank you, SpaceX.
Endeavour Station, Bob and Doug, wholeheartedly agree with those sentiments. It's been a real pleasure. It's been an honor to serve with you. Safe travels and have a successful landing. Endeavour's a great ship. Godspeed.
Endeavour copies all. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Gary. Departure burn 0 sets Crew Dragon, Endeavour, and Bob and Doug on their journey home. Dragon ship Endeavour is now on a trajectory to head up and over the station before additional maneuvers will change its orbital path to take it below and in front of the station. Dragon will autonomously accomplish that through 3 additional departure burns, with that next one coming up in just a couple of minutes to get Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley well away from the space station and on their way home.
Beautiful view. Just had a beautiful view there of the relative navigation sensors providing an infrared view of the International Space Station as Bob and Doug drift away from it. And of course, as they are drifting away, going into that slightly higher orbit, just because of balancing the force of gravity along with their centripetal acceleration, they will move a little bit slower than the space station. And so we'll expect space station to sort of drift ahead, and then as they conduct those additional burns, getting out of the approach ellipsoid and the keep out sphere, then they will come back down below space station with their apogee being about 10 kilometers below space station and slowly reducing their perigee.
Next up in just a couple of minutes, scheduled for 4:40 p.m. Pacific time and 11:40 p.m. GMT will be depart burn 1. That's a 20-second burn to further increase the opening rate between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station.
Yeah, and that view, what we just previously had, and you can actually see it on the right-hand screen of Bob's display, is a relative navigation sensor that's providing an infrared view from the forward hatch of Dragon, looking back towards the forward module of the International Space Station. So that's where Dragon has been for the last 63 days. Coming up in less than a minute is departure burn number 1. This burn coming just about 5 minutes after separation. And this is going to increase that opening rate between the space station and Dragon.
And separation occurred on time today, as with everything else occurring on schedule, sending Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley back toward Earth, back toward home.
We got a nice view of Bob and Doug in their suits. This is the first time we've seen them in their suits and in their chairs this morning. So there they are, tapping away, preparing to initiate the deorbit sequence. So let's talk a little. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just like in the lead up in the last couple of minutes, we heard they had good suit leak checks. As Kate described earlier, once the leak checks are complete, they don't keep the suit pressurized, so visors are open. They're going to have cool air running through their suits and the cabin and just getting ready for the ride.
Yeah. Whenever they are re-entering the atmosphere, the external temperature will reach about 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The internal temperature of the cabin, however, will stay around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a couple of systems in place to keep it cool and comfortable for Bob and Doug as they are returning. Like Dan just said, there will be some cool air flowing through their suits. The cabin itself will also be purged with cooler air as well, so that will assist in making sure that the temperature stays pretty temperate inside the capsule.
And I mean, we're just 42 minutes and 50 seconds away from things really kicking up. And this is going to be when we really start to do that first maneuver to get ready to jettison the trunk. And then we'll do that claw and trunk separation. And then it's time for just kind of that final firing of those engines, that really just that downhill ride.
Yeah, those forward bulkhead thrusters, there are 4 of them, 4 of those Draco thrusters there at the top of the capsule near the nose cone. Those will be utilized to perform the deorbit burn. This burn is what will essentially give Dragon its final trajectory back home. This is the last burn that the capsule will perform. If you've been following along since yesterday afternoon, you know that there have been a number of burns completed. This deorbit burn will be the final one. It will last about 11.5 minutes. After that burn completes, we no longer need to utilize those Draco thrusters, and we want to protect the forward hatch up there, so we close the nose cone and lock it up. The capsule will be re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and like I mentioned, approaching about 3,500 degrees, and that's because
we're in that heat of re-entry, and so that's where things will really heat up for Bob and Doug on their re-entry, and that's where we'll have that comms blackout. Once they're through that initial entry, we'll have that part called entry interface, which we kind of explained as that's when the capsule's really experiencing aerodynamics. They've been flying around in the vacuum of space with no air, so no lift, drag, stuff like that on their capsule. And entry interface is where they're really starting to hit the atmosphere, and it's affecting the capsule. And it'll continue to use its Draco thrusters on the service section to really guide it back home.
Yeah.
And standing by for drogue deploys.
Visual, 2 drogues out.
there on your screen we have visual confirmation of those 2 drogue deployments.
Copy 2 drogue.
All right, so 2 of 2, the drogues now out. They're going to do their slowing and stabilizing of the Dragon spacecraft. They should be detaching in just a few moments, and then we'll see 4 parachutes, the main parachutes deployed. Dragon under drogues.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
So the expected descent rate, the expected velocity under the drogues nominal. We're right at around 150 miles an hour and already dropping. You can see the drogues now detach.
And there we have confirmation of deployment of the 4 main parachutes.
We are visual on 4 chutes out.
We are visual. 4 main parachutes deployed.
4 main.
So at this point, the main parachutes have deployed. They are inflating, as you can see there on your screen, continuing to slow Dragon down significantly.
200 meters. We are braced for splashdown.
Splashdown.
As you can see on your screen, we have visual confirmation for splashdown.
SpaceX copies and concurs. We see splashdown and mains cut.
Dragon Endeavour has returned home. NASA astronauts Bob and Doug.
On behalf of the SpaceX and NASA teams, welcome back to planet Earth, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
Want anyone in danger or to fall overboard. That guy intentionally jumped. Speaking of falling overboard.
We're ready. Thank you.
All right, so the crew was just told in the next 30 seconds, they have the lines affixed, so they're going to start lifting the capsule up out of the water. And at this point, the communication we're getting with Dragon is actually being routed through the boat itself at this point. So there we can see the lift. Dragon is out of the water.
Yeah, so
now
now
that A-frame's going to start swinging it back. And it's bound right for that nest at the bottom of your screen.
Hello from the PLT. I just wanted to thank you guys for bringing us home safe before I disembarked from ship Endeavour. I'm sure Doug will have some good words for you guys as well. But for doing the most difficult parts and the most important parts of human space flight, getting us into orbit and bringing us home safely. Thank you again for the good ship Endeavour.
Thank you, Bob, for those awesome words. It's absolutely been an honor and a pleasure to work with you from the entire SpaceX team. It's been awesome.
I'd like to sort of reiterate what Bob said and add my thanks to everybody over the last several years that's either worked in Hawthorne, McGregor, or down at Kennedy Space Center. Anybody who's touched Endeavour, you should take a moment to just cherish this day, especially given all the things that have happened this year. We certainly can't thank you enough. Our families can't thank you enough. And, just proud to be a small part of this whole effort to get a company of people to and from the space station. Today, and celebrate with each other.
We see some.
And we'll talk to you soon, hopefully in person.
Thanks so much, Doug, and you're welcome. And thank you so much for those kind words. And we all wish you a safe journey home and a happy reunion with your family soon. And we look forward to seeing you in person as well.
And we see the hatch is now open.
Here we have our first view of Doug Hurley.
And they're going to get some assistance just the couple of feet to the medical quarters on board the ship, where they're going to be able to get out of their suits that they've been wearing for all of the final dynamic phases of the separation events, deorbit burn, re-entry, splashing down.
We saw NASA astronaut Doug Hurley egressing or exiting from the capsule. It might have been hard to see on your screen there, but we got a thumbs up indicating that things are going well.
Spacecraft Commander Doug Hurley making his way out of the capsule. And it looks like we've got him out. We've got him seated. There we go, another thumbs up. We've got some applause here.
And as you can see in Mission Control, a standing ovation for a job well done.
The crew to get out of the plane. They're with their families now, but we just got a touchdown of them a few moments ago, touching down 6:27 p.m. Central Time, touching down here in Ellington. Just 5 hours ago, they were in the Gulf of Mexico, splashing down off of the coast of Pensacola. Getting some great views of the crew now coming down from the Gulfstream aircraft. We're expected to hear some words from them as they get situated. In front of them is a group of VIPs. Bob Benkin on the left, Doug Hurley on the right. We should be hearing some words from them coming up here shortly.
We're not going to stand right now. For those of you who have done this before, you know it's not pleasant standing for a few hours after you get back. 5 hours ago, we were bobbing around in the Gulf of Mexico, so I feel like it's pretty good that we got this far in 5 hours. But I think the biggest thing that we would both like to talk about is just to thank, you can see Steve and Kathy here in Elon. You know, this has been quite an odyssey the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 5 years since Bob and I started working on this program. And to be where we are now, the first crewed flight of Dragon is just unbelievable. We've said it before, just a tremendous privilege to be part of this program, to be part of NASA, and to spend 2 months on the International Space Station with one of the greatest officers, crewmates, astronauts, Chris Cassidy. Just was a real pleasure for both of us. And I'm sure Bob will talk about the spacewalks, but just to see those two work out on the International Space Station, you're not going to see anything like that again. It just was just amazing to be part of that. And then, you know, the flight of Dragon on Falcon, and then the reentry today. It's a lot to process. As I said, 5 hours ago, we were in a spaceship bobbing around, making prank satellite phone calls to whoever we could get a hold of, which was kind of fun, by the way. You can send him the bill for the sat phone. But anyway, we really appreciate all of you coming to say hi and welcoming us back. It's a little bit overwhelming to see everybody here, considering the things that have gone on the last few months since we've been off planet. But thank you again for coming to say hi, and hopefully we'll be able to share a lot of this mission with you in a few months, hopefully, if not sooner. But thank you again.
I think for both Doug and I, the thing that we're most excited about having accomplished with this mission is, you know, it's written right on that sign where it says Launch America, and then, of course, Land America today. As we went through our years as astronauts here at the Johnson Space Center, we got to live through a big chunk of the shuttle era and a big chunk of the assembly of the space station. When the space shuttles retired, when Doug took his final flight to wrap that up, I think it was a sad day for us in the because there's something special about having that capability to launch and bring your own astronauts home. And we went through a lot of years without that capability, and I think we're both super proud to have been just a small part of the team that accomplished bringing those space flights back to the Florida coast and bringing that capability back to America. As Doug mentioned, we had the luxury of having just a super crew on board the International Space Station with Chris Cassidy, with Anatoly and Yvonne. They just took wonderful care of us. I can't think of anything that we could have had more in place and ready for us when we arrived than what Chris set up for us. And so we're extremely thankful for him and his work to make things look easy for us. You know, we didn't have the full training template that was out there. We had an abbreviated flow and got to take advantage of an opportunity, if you will, to try to take care of Space Station as we accomplish this test mission. And so I think we're both really proud of that and happy that it didn't become a distraction. We were able to accomplish the test mission objectives and work through those, kind of get Dragon certified in some sense to be ready for our return home when the time came to do that. And so it all just worked out wonderfully. And so today, when we got the wake-up calls from our boys telling us a little bit about what they were looking forward to, which was us coming home, and in Theo's case, getting a new dog. It was a wonderful morning, and we very much appreciated it. And so, again, I think this kind of comes full circle. Took years to get here, we brought the capability back to America, and we came home safely to our families. And it took a lot of people a lot of time to make that happen. And so to Kathy, thank you for that. Of course, you had Steve as your right-hand man for the most recent history, at least. And we definitely really appreciate the hard work that you all had to go through to ensure that the contractors, in this case the SpaceX team, really could understand NASA and what we needed to be able to have in place to have human spaceflight be safe in the way that we wanted to operate it. And I think for the SpaceX team, we couldn't have asked for a more wonderful team to work with. I think we definitely are old dogs and like some of our old tricks because it's not always because lazy. Sometimes it's because we did it before and we know an easy solution, and we try to share that with folks. And that's really, as we go forward to further activities, whether it's in low Earth orbit, to the moon, or beyond, we need to figure out the best way to share what NASA knows with the contractor team and help them be as successful as possible. And I think maybe we weren't there 5 or 6 years ago, of course, but by the time we launched and certainly by the time we returned, I think there was a very tight-knit relationship between the SpaceX team and our NASA team, and we worked together to accomplish what we accomplished. So with that, I just want to thank you all for coming out today and celebrating this victory with Doug and I, and recognize our small part of what was accomplished. Thank you all.
I've been told I'm not allowed to hold the microphone, and that's really hard for me to do, but I'm going to take my mask off for just a few seconds here and just say thank you to everybody who participated in this. You know, we just saw Bob and Doug, and I think all of us are going to have memories now for the rest of our lives when they launched. In fact, we'll have memories of the day that they didn't launch, and then 3 days later coming back and doing the whole thing again, not knowing whether or not they were going to go 50-50 on the weather. And then sure enough, the skies opened up and we were able to launch Bob and Doug. I want to say a few words just about what champions they are beyond just being the first crew to fly on Dragon. It goes beyond that. They knew that when they were doing this, it was a test flight. They also knew that they were going to be responsible for, conducting a lot of operations on the International Space Station for a period of months, to include what ended up being 4 spacewalks, spending that extended period of time on the International Space Station, and then flying back, and amazingly coming off the jet just right now after being weightless for the last 63 days, coming off the jet, sitting down, and doing a public event. And I got to tell you, I've never flown into space, but from that's not normally done. It's very difficult. But they wanted to take that opportunity to connect with the American people on this momentous occasion, and I can't say how much. You just can't put into words how important this was for our country to have access to space again from our own soil. So again, I know they left, but congratulations to Bob and Doug and their families. What an amazing day for the United States of America. I would also say that what we just saw is the beginning of what will be a whole lot more activity in the future. Right now, when we talk about commercial crew, we're going to go for the Dragon, we're going to go from development into operations. Of course, we're always going to learn and we're always going to modify, but making that transition from development to operations is going to be a challenge, but the NASA team is up for it. But it goes beyond that because we still have Starliner, and we need to get Starliner flying, and then we've got to get Orion flying, and we've got to get Starship flying, and we've got to get, what's that? A lot of stars, absolutely. So look, there is a lot to do in front of us, but here's what we know. We know that when members of Congress come together in a bipartisan way and they fund NASA, amazing things can happen. Right now we have before the House and the Senate the biggest budget request in NASA's history in nominal dollars. By the way, right now we have the biggest budget NASA has ever had in nominal dollars. Now, if you look at real dollars, Apollo might have us beat by a little bit. But we're heading the right direction, and next year if we get the budget request that is before us right now next year, we are going to go up an order of magnitude, and that is necessary. Because today we're flying into low Earth orbit, and in a few short years, we want to be flying to the moon. And not just go once or twice, but we want to go sustainably with a purpose. We're going to the moon sustainably. We're going to learn how to live and work on another world for long periods of time. We're going to use the resources of the moon in order to live and work, and we're going to take all of that knowledge onto Mars. That's what we're able to accomplish because of the bipartisan support we've had in the House and in the Senate for the budget that we have right now. And what I'm asking for our members of Congress to do is look at what we've done with what we have, and if you fund us at our budget request level, we will be on the moon. And we will be successfully on the moon with our commercial partners and with our international partners. So today was an amazing day. It was a historic day. It's been 9 years since America launched and landed from its own soil. And yet here we are. But the next step is we're going on to the moon and then on to Mars. This is about momentum. It starts today and it finishes when we put an American flag on Mars. All right, I've got the honor to introduce somebody who we are very grateful for to help us accomplish this mission. I've said it before and I'll say it again. NASA seeks to be one customer of many customers in a very robust commercial marketplace in low Earth orbit. And we want to have numerous providers that compete on cost and innovation and safety. And I will tell you, there was a moment, maybe not even a year ago, Kathy, leaders, you can tell me how long ago it was, when we had some significant challenges. We might have had a few disagreements on parachutes. We might have had maybe a disagreement on, maybe we need to change the titanium and because of its reactivity with nitrogen tetroxide. And I sent a tweet, Elon, and I know you remember this. And since we've had a number of dialogues, I sent a tweet and I said that it's time to deliver. And I tweeted it at Elon Musk. And I want to tell you, Elon, you responded absolutely magnificently, and you have in fact delivered. You have delivered beyond anything any of us would have expected. And I will also say that all of the reports I'm getting from all of the teams on Commercial Crew is that this mission went as good as we could have hoped. And we're so grateful for the team at SpaceX, the great team in NASA's Commercial Crew program, and all of the operators that helped us to get to this point. So I just want to say thank you, Elon Musk. The time is yours.
Thanks, Jim. After these great words that were spoken, I'm not sure I have much to add. There's from Bob and Doug and Jim, but I do think what this heralds really is fundamentally a new era in spaceflight, a new era in space exploration. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to have a base on the moon. We're going to send people to Mars, and make life multiplanetary. And I think this day heralds a new age of space exploration. That's what it's all about. And this is the result of an incredible amount of work from people at SpaceX, people at NASA. Hey, Kathy. Hey, so much. We're 18 years. This has been 18 years to finally fly people to orbit and back. And I really came here because I just wanted to see Bob and Doug, to be totally frank. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I think like my entire adrenaline, it was just dumped, It's like, thank God. I'm not very religious, but I prayed for this one. So just once again, thanks everyone at SpaceX, NASA, FAA, everyone, Air Force, that played a role in this, and it's key suppliers that did incredible work. Thanks again, and I think this is something that the whole world can take pleasure in, and can really look at this as an achievement of humanity. And there's, these are difficult times when, there's not that much good news, and I think this is one of those things that is universally good, no matter where you are on planet Earth. This is a good thing, and I hope it brightens your day. Thank you.
Give us a like, subscribe, and I hope you saw the moon one day. Do your worksheet, dot to dot, 1 to 100.